What is up, everybody? This is the TCHLiVE podcast, our first go at episode 1, and trying to diversify the content a bit outside of just the live stream. But my name's Ben Kirby. I'm here with Greg Potter, as usually here in the booth. Greg, how's it going today, man?
What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm pretty good. Happy to be, switching things up a bit, doing a little podcast format. The people in the chat said they wanted more of us, and so we're giving them more of us.
As much as we can.
Yeah. And as, this is kind of a moving target in terms of what we're going to be talking about on the podcast, but I thought that it would, or I guess we discussed offline that probably be good to talk about the origin story of the pod, talk about the origin story of how we got involved with the card house, that kind of thing, and then we can talk about some maybe famous hands from the last year of the stream. He calls it. He says I got kings full, bro, for a $30,000 pot, and Milkman just called an $11,000 overbet with ace-8 high, bro. What is happening?
What did I see just now?
So, okay, we get this a lot, we get this a lot about the fact that we, blow up whenever we see crazy nonsense happen. And a lot of people ask, is that I've been asked a few times at least, is that, an act, or, do you genuinely just like it? And, so what's your response to that question before I answer?
Yeah, I don't know what that came from, but it might be, for me, there are so many live streams out there where it's just a snooze fest. It's like sitting in class with, maybe two analytical dudes that are just talking about GTO. And for us to have to sit there and talk about this for 4 hours, you need, just for your sanity, you've got to find ways to make it entertaining for yourself. And maybe that's not the most professional answer. Neither of us have a background in broadcasting. And so you'll see the pro guys probably have a little more calm demeanor. But for us, we kind of are responsible for maintaining interest into a game that oftentimes can be long periods of boredom, if we're honest. That's an element to the game. And so if we can, for me, I try to, one, I'm genuinely interested and like to see the suckouts because it's just fun. But there's also an element of kind of setting the example, I guess. We want people to be entertained and to enjoy the stream. We don't want to blow out their eardrums, but also we want people to find entertainment value in the stream, much like the old days when ESPN was doing the World Series. Everything was really well produced and they only showed the exciting moments. Live streaming is a little different now, but I try to hopefully set the tone and get people jazzed about stuff that maybe other people would just glaze over. Yeah,
it's first of all, where it comes from for me is I just have there's a reason why I play as often as I do and why I took a shot at doing this commentator gig, because I have a genuine love for the game. I remember the first time that I sat down at a 1-2 game in a casino. I remember walking into the poker room and you can hear the chips shuffling and the clacking and the clicking and the card shuffling from 50 yards until you get to the poker room. And I remember I heard that, and then it hits you like a wave of noise when you get in there. And I get in there and I see so many people playing this game that I just started to dive into. And I remember I was instantly hooked on the whole concept of it. And then I was even more so when I found out that people play it for a living. And I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, those couple winning sessions, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I see. I get it now. Yeah, I won $400 in an hour when I usually work an entire week for that amount of money.
Right.
Holy
That's the
crap.
thing that'll really screw up your perspective. Or not screw it up, but just open up your mind. To there's other ways of making money. And there's a semblance of control to, unlike blackjack or roulette or whatever, where it's I put work in and I'm actually seeing spots that I studied or spots that I worked towards, and now I'm making better decisions. All that. I'm with you. When I started years and years ago, the whole live environment is so different from the online environment, where it if you're new to it, there's just like this new dopamine hit or something when you're in those environments, especially when you like really like the game and you're going specifically to go play poker. I'm with you. It's definitely a I don't know how you would explain it. It's kind of like a, I don't want to say cathartic experience, but it's a tangible experience going into like a real poker room for the first time. Like, oh yeah, this is
very visceral. Very
visceral was
indeed.
the term that I wanted.
And so that's where my excitement comes from, because like I just genuinely love the game and I love watching it. And it's, and the thing is like fates can change with the turn of a card in this game. Like, money can be won and lost with one turn card, and it happens so freaking fast sometimes that like, we can like beg for the action or like, ask for a certain card to come, but then when it actually does, dude, it's just like I can't help but scream about it because it's just
so unlikely for things to happen, and when those unlikely things happen, it's like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we had like borderline complaints at the beginning. Nobody was really complaining, but at the beginning, because it was like, chill out, guys, like, you're blowing out my eardrums and things like that. But I lean into that so much more now, because like for some of the same points that you pointed out, that like sometimes the reality of this game is sometimes it's freaking boring, and that is a function of the game. Like, you can't have exciting hands all the time, and on top of that, we're broadcasting through a platform that has a little bit less rigidity to it, in the sense it's a little bit more free form, where YouTube has always been this platform about how people can, be themselves, or like that's how it exploded, because everybody was putting all these weird videos of just human behavior happening in real time that you could then watch. And I think it's pertinent to lean into that a little bit in the live setting that we have now, opposed to like the very formatted, rigid, structured, what's the word I'm looking for? Scripted kind of format that is on live TV that casts out to millions of people every year. Like, I understand why they do it that way, but YouTube just provides a unique way for us to express ourselves in real time about poker in a way that hasn't been before. And I think it's a good idea to lean into that and show that people genuinely think this game is exciting, especially when it's played for stacks, man. So,
absolutely. And I'm proud of the brand that we've developed in that regard, where it's like, if you watch our stream, we're going to be more energetic than most of the other streams out there. And so, like, if you want a calmer stream, this isn't the one often. But I think we've heard feedback that people do enjoy our energy. Like, I talked to Nimi after the stream in Dallas, and that's the one thing he pointed out, was like, even though I called him Brad at one point, he said,
I remember that.
He said, no worries about that. And, he loved our energy. And because I think that's just maybe more rare in the live stream world, because it's, it is hard to talk about a thing for 5 hours straight. One of the benefits of, the stream developing and improving the production, all that kind of stuff, is we get to kind of explore new characters and, cultivate new characters in the poker world. And one of the most famous ones so far this summer has been this guy DQ, who showed up out of kind of nowhere in San Antonio and Austin.
Appeared out of nowhere, man.
And you can look up DQ Poker on YouTube, and this guy plays blind. He brings his own chair. He plays high stakes. He'll play erratic, which is another really interesting form of poker to watch on YouTube. And we actually had a chance to interview him, because he's coming to play a live 2550 game on TCHLive this Friday, September 24th at 6 p.m. But before the stream, I was able to sit down, virtually and interview DQ, get a few answers to questions that we all had about him. But we're here with DQ, the infamous DQ. You've probably seen him on some of the live streams around town, especially on TCHLive for sure. DQ, thanks for joining us, man.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to meet you finally. We always see you in the chat, and we appreciate the donations and all that kind of stuff. But we appreciate your play style, the character that you bring to the table. As a guy that's got to talk about poker for hours and hours and hours, it sure does make it a lot easier when somebody like you plays versus all of the kind of hoodie, sunglasses, grinder types So before we get into it, I imagine people would be interested. How'd you get into poker? Especially like, how did you get in with, like you mentioned offline, Big Daddy Chaz and all those guys, some of the other live stream regulars. How'd you get in with all those guys? Would be interested to learn about your story.
So, like I think most kids, I started playing cards with my dad, my brother, just kind of playing, penny poker, just kind of learning the basics of playing poker and doing those things. As time went on, I started playing in home games, small games, right? 1-2 games, even doing small little $30 buy-in tournaments and so forth, and just kind of learning how to play the game and so forth. And then I kind of increased my bankroll and started playing on larger home games. And I've been playing home games now for, the better part of 15 years. And then the pandemic came. And when the pandemic came, it was like, I don't want to go to any card house. I need to be safe. And I don't want to go to home games. I don't want to do anything. So I quit poker for like 9 months. And then all of a sudden I started coming back, and it was like, I don't really trust the home games because they weren't asking anyone to wear masks. I was a little nervous. I've had cancer several times before, so my immune system is compromised. So I needed to take precautions. And I went to a local card house in San Antonio, and they required everyone to wear masks. I'd never been before. All I wanted to do was play a game, but I didn't want to play a 1-2 or 2-5. And I showed up and put my name on an interest on a 5-10 game. And next thing you know, Big Daddy Chaz was there, Seti the Poker Traveler was there, and some other people. We had a great game, and they said, hey, you want to do this next week? And I said, sure. And somehow that turned into DQ's game. So we have a regular Friday game. I got to meet Bones. I got to meet El Thunderbird. I got to meet E. McKenzie. I got to meet a lot of people that we've all played with, that we've known. And so when trying to put the games together, I was trying to get phone numbers from everybody. And they looked at me like I was an alien. Like, hey, we don't talk versus phones. We talk on Instagram. Okay. I don't have Instagram.
What's that?
So Seti the Poker Traveler helped me get a Instagram account available, then showed me how to find the people, and then we created these group text and whatever else and chats, and it kind of grew from there. And the next thing you know, Chaz was like, hey, I'd like you to come up to TCH and play on a live stream. What's a live stream? So I had to start watching videos, and I had to start watching it, and I didn't know what it was. And so Chaz, Big Daddy Chaz, and Bones were the two people that first got me into starting doing the live streams. And then when I started doing the live streams, I started just being the same typical person that I was, and apparently people liked it and they had a good time. And then after the first live stream, as soon as it ended, man, I just crushed the game, and I hit a $55,000 bomb pot, and that got posted on the video. And then next thing you know, everybody wanted more content. And then I went to other card houses and I started playing with other pros. And next thing you know, I'm just going around playing with pros. And I just want to play. And the reason why I picked the pros was I wanted to pick the people that were the most challenging. I've played at many different places. I've played in tough places. A month ago, I played at Bellgio. I played in the big game, right, in the Legends Room.
Did you really?
I did. I played 2 different days. I played with all the people that you see on Poker Go and everything else. And DQ came out the better of those games. They did not know how to play Texas poker. And it's not that I am better than them. I am not better than them. I just play a different style of poker. And as I started watching games on TCH Dallas, I went, oh, crap. Like, Trick Time plays the same way I do. JD plays the same way I do. Moneymaker's like the friggin' guru of all poker that no one knows about. He's just got the misfortune of having a namesake that people think is a joke. That guy is not a joke. Like, that guy is a savant at this shit. And so I was like, wow, I want to play that game because I just want to see how I can fare against like really good players, people who have a lot of fun, who talk. I'm not the guy who's going to sit there with headphones in. I'm going to talk to everybody at the table, and part of it is because I want to have a great time, and the other part is I want to get in your head a little bit. Only I know what I'm doing, and so it's just part of the fun of everything. And so it's kind of how it all came about, how I got into live streams, and how you and I are sitting here talking today.
For people that aren't aware, a lot of times you're playing blind, playing hands blind through multiple streets, that kind of thing, and that inevitably induces a ton of action. And you mentioned the game in Dallas, September 24th. You're playing 25.50. I think, 5K minimum and uncapped.
I think it's a 10K minimum.
Oh, 10K minimum?
Yeah,
okay,
I think
10K
so.
minimum and uncapped buy-in. Should be a huge game, especially if we have the regular faces that come through in Dallas. And I know everybody's going to want, respectfully, a piece of DQ, or at least a shot at a piece of DQ.
I just want to have fun. I don't need to give
That's
away
right.
my whole net worth. I just want to have a damn good time.
I'm interested just for my own, I guess, personal edification is going back to the Bellagio thing. You played in Bobby's room. Was that the high limit mixed game?
It was a high limit, no limit hold'em. Look, they're all a bunch of great guys. Everybody that was there was fantastic. People that you see on TV all the time, they're there. Make no doubt about it. They assumed that I was the fish. It was a $25.50 game with a $50 $100 game with a $100 big blind ante. And
Ooh.
I got there, and then they were doing bomb pots for $100. Hold'em only, one board. They wouldn't even consider a double board. They wouldn't even consider PLO or PLO double boards. And about
You're the
40
Texas guy that's like, hey
Yeah.
guys, come on, let's do double boards.
And they're like,
Don't
minimum
wanna gamble.
buy-in's like, 15,000. I show up, and I went to the cage. I bought it for 15,000. I look around, and no one's got 15,000 in front of them. I was like, okay, I see how this is going to go. About 45 minutes into the hand, one of the pros says to the tables, hey, these $25 chips are just kind of getting annoying. We're already playing big. Let's just make it 100, 200. What do you guys say? You guys okay with it? And everybody's like, oh, yeah, sure.
Just
and they
black
go,
chips only.
Right. And they go, hey, DQ, what about you? Are you okay with that? Well, what the hell am I going to say at that point? I'm like, sure. So then the game went to 100, 200 with a 200 big blind ante. And so then when it came time to the bomb pots, they were like, well, $100 just kind of seems pointless now. Let's just make them $500 bomb pots. Oh, okay. You lose 10 of those, which I did. That's $5,000 walking out the table. I put one of the pros on tilt so bad that one of the guys called him suicide tilt. He left. He never came back to the table, didn't even pick up his chips, and then he started texting one of the pros going, what the hell? I thought you said this guy was a rec player. Who the hell is this guy? I'm not coming back. This is ridiculous. And we're all laughing about it. I don't want to say any names, but we're all laughing about it. And, by the end of the night, I'm up like almost 60,000. And so, when the rec player comes in there and does exceptionally well, doesn't have to rebuy, doesn't have to add on, and then, of course, they invite you back the next day. The next day when they invite you back, like they're all teeing up. And
They've done the numbers.
That's it. And so they did. There was one hand in particular where I got it all in with one of the pros, and I was clearly ahead, and I had the most chips. He won on the river, and on the river, when he ended up making a set to my two pair, I was down to like 8,000 in chips. And the whole table just started laughing and smiling, and they all got on their phones and started sending him text messages. And you could just sit there and watch. And he would sit there and he would turn around and he'd pick up his phone and then look at the guy, look at that guy over there. You knew exactly what was going on. Oh, we finally got that guy. So they were like, hey, you gonna add on? No, I don't need to. Okay. And then I turned that 8,000 into 62,000. And nice. So that kind of just set it up to where I have an open invite to come back at any point in time over there. And I always thought that I kind of had a little uniqueness to it until I watched TCH Dallas, and I went, oh, crap, everybody up there does it. That's why I wanted to go play there.
Yeah, there's something in the water here that was strange, and you're right. I think most people that if you spend any amount of time playing Texas poker, like to poker in Texas, and then you go to a place like Vegas where there's like a 1,000 cap 2-5 game or something, it's like culture shock, both for the Texas poker player and for the other players that are playing the Texas poker player. It's different down here, and it's city, it's cross city, like Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. There's all these sickos that are playing the 5-7 suited versus an under the gun +2 open, and it's super fun, and it's what makes the state so good for the game. And that's what I think it's going to be great about September 24th, the 25-50 games, because like that's a stake that's going to attract enough of the big players, but probably some players taking shots as well.
Most definitely.
That's like the kind of the allure of all the vloggers and such brings all these new players that there's some it's like a high to chase or something to go beat up somebody that you've seen on YouTube or on TV or whatever. Kind of like playing with all the pros in Vegas at the Bellagio. There's something cool about at least playing with somebody that's recognizable, and so I imagine people will be coming up for that.
Well, and I did the same thing in Miami. So 2 weeks ago, I flew to Miami to go play with Lex O Poker. I played with Lex O Poker in Austin. Great guy. I tuned him up really good. But in the end, he said, you're the funnest guy I've ever played with, and you're one of the most difficult. I want to play at any game you're at. And so he asked for my cell phone number, and I said, that's fine. I said, but I'd like you to come down to San Antonio sometime. Somebody come down to my hometown. Don't make me travel. And he says, you come to Miami, I'll come to San Antonio. I said, really? So next thing you know, I bought tickets. I booked it. I went out there. We had 2 meetup games. We did a 5-10 with the mandatory 25 straddle one day. And the next day we did a 10-20 game. So to my surprise, I show up there. I post about it on Instagram. I show up there, and people are showing up going, dude, TQ, I'm a fan. I'm like, holy crud, you know who the hell I am?
Why are you a
like,
fan?
oh, yeah. And so we go and we sit there and we play. And I got to talk to some of the players afterward, and they said, I got to tell you, during the first 45 minutes, an hour, we really thought you were a joke. We thought you were the worst poker player we've ever seen. We're playing at the Seminole Hard Rock. They have a 2,500 max buy-in, period, end of story. So you can add on to get to 2,500, that's all it is. So the first day I won 23,000. I stacked 6 different people, and they just didn't see it coming. They couldn't see it coming, etc. We came back the next day for the 10-20, and I won like 16,000. And so by the time everything was said and done, they were just sitting there going, wow, I don't think I've ever seen that before. You run so good. And I sat there and I just thought about it, and I'm like, wow, their perception is that I run good. Like, they're giving me 0 credit for outplaying them. And that's okay. That's exactly what I wanted to think. And I had so much fun that I decided I'm going to go back October 14th because I have nothing else to do but go and play in these places. So I'm like, heck yeah, come on, Lex, let's play it again. Let's do it again. And don't you know, all those people are going to line up, and they're going to try to play me differently, and they're going to try to tune me up. And the interesting thing is that those people are not used to playing the same way we are. So when they try to adjust their game, they're going into uncharted territories. We all been playing this way our whole lives. We're from here. We played with all these people forever. So to us, it's only natural. To them, that's what makes it a little different. So that when they come up against a Trick Time, or they come up against a JD or an Araj or some of these other people who make calls, and you're just sitting here going, how can you possibly have 2-3 or these cards or that cards? Because we're playing an entirely different game than you are. We're not.
It can be infuriating.
Yes.
To be on the receiving end of it.
For those of you that are really good players and like to play solid cards, it's infuriating. You love it when you win, and we like giving chips to you because we know that down the road it's only going to take one hand. You're going to overplay your kings, and you're going to completely miss the rest of the board, and then we're going to get all your chips. And it's really infuriating for you. And inside, it's just kind of, it's fun. And, I just want everybody to know that I play with it. Look, I'm not trying to intentionally bust anybody. I'm literally just having a good time. And if you bust me and you take my chips, you're going to see me smile. You're going to see me offer to help stack your chips. You're going to see me tell you to make sure that you tip the dealer because they did good for you. What you're not going to see, you're not going to see me lose my temper. You're not going to see me get angry at the dealer. You're not going to see me throw my cards. You're not going to see me pout. And you will never see me go on tilt because it's just not the way. I forget about it, and I move on, and I rebuy and try to have a great time. And I think that that's what poker should be more about, is just having a good time and enjoying it, etc.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, did it take you, maybe this is an obvious question, but did it take you some time to develop that mentality about the game? Because it's a pretty emotional game, especially at the stakes that you're playing. The swings can really make otherwise pretty stable people go kind of nuts. Did you find that you just naturally can compartmentalize it all, or how did you work on that?
No, it all happened after I had cancer the first time in 2008. So when I had cancer the first time in 2008, that kind of changed my outlook, my perspective on things, how much time I spend with my family, vacations I take, etc. And I was an emotional player like everybody else. I got upset, I would yell, I would get on tilt, everything. And my life changed. And I was like, you know what, I have a new perspective. And then in 2011, the cancer came back again. When you've had cancer several times and you start thinking about your perspective on life and what's happening, you change things. You become more philanthropic. You become more pleasant. You try not to get into fights and get angry with people. And when it came to poker, it was kind of like, wait a minute, I never did this to make a living anyways. Why am I getting upset at that dealer? Why am I getting upset at that player? Because he called me and he got lucky. It's okay. Those things happen, right? Lord knows we've all done it to many people, right? And so once I was able to do that, I could then compartmentalize it and say, it really is just cards. I really am just having a good time. But when you do it for a living, whether you're a pro or you're a rounder, you take it personal. And when you take it personal, I take advantage. And that's one of the benefits that I have. It's not that I have so much infinite wealth that I can just play. It's just that I don't ever go to the table with what I can't afford to lose. So if I brought 50,000, 75,000 to the table, it's because if I lost it, it didn't change anything about what I was doing. The same thing if I brought 5,000. So if I lose it, that's cool. I just get up and I leave and I go home and whatever else. But for people who go and sit at these games where they're kind of lying to themselves, they want to play big, they want to win big, but they know that if they lose this, like the stress, the anxiety keeps in, well, see, that's where people like me and Trick Time and some of these other guys, we've got an advantage because we can see it, we can sense it, and you're going to play your cards differently. And so I love Greg. Greg's fantastic. Greg's one of those guys. So that's why when you have him on the TCH over there, and he's clearly got the best hand, and I know he's got the best hand, and I say, look, you want to see? I mean, I know I've got a great hand. You want to see? And I show him the 5 of clubs. And then he sits there and he looks at it, and I go, what, you're still deciding? You can't hear all this. You're still deciding? You're still thinking about it? Here, look, let me show you another one. And I switched my cards around like this, and then I flipped up and I showed him the same 5 of clubs. Yet no one else noticed it was the exact same 5 of clubs. Everybody assumed it was a different 5 and that I had a set of 5s. So
Slick.
Greg just starts laughing, and he folds it. And then I showed over the other one, the King 9, and it was just like, oh my God, it was this. So, I took advantage of Greg. I did feel bad about it. So in the next several live streams, I super chatted him several $100. But I was still having fun. I didn't want to take it personal. Yeah. It was just me having a little fun.
Yeah, I love it. And maybe that's the name of your poker book. When you take it personal, I take advantage. TM. Just that one's for free.
There you go.
As your lawyer. Maybe that's the name of your poker book. I love that. I guess before I let you go, if anybody's watched the live stream, we see you in your own custom chair. Tell us the story about your custom embroidered chairs that you bring to the card rooms, just real quick.
So obviously it's harder when you go to Dallas or Miami or these other places because you can't just load them up there and do it. But when you've had cancer several times and you've had colon cancer and you've got issues that result from chemotherapies and things in the back, it just started hurting. And so everybody knows, who's ever played with me knows that to every game I bring a pillow. And I've got to take a pillow, like just a regular pillow we have in our beds, and I fold it up and I put it in my back and I have to sit on it. And after going to the card rooms and starting to play there, the chairs were just not as comfortable, and everybody was making fun of me bringing the pillow. And you get that, oh, you're going to sleep here, you're going to do this, that, or the other. So I asked the owners of the card house that I frequent and where I started my regular game. And I said, listen, here's my issue, here's what's going on. Can I please buy my own chair, and can I do this? And they said yes. So I went on, I bought it, I did it, I put it in over there. And I take it around with me so that anywhere that's within a couple 100 miles radius, I take it and I pull it and I bring it out and I sit in it. Since then, other card houses that I've played out on a regular basis have offered to buy me a chair, leave it there, store it for me and everything else.
Wow.
I just haven't taken advantage of that yet. I'm not the kind of guy that likes people to do things. I like to be the generous person. So even though I host a regular 5-10 game every single Friday, I still pay time like everyone else. I still pay my membership fees. I don't take anything for free. People don't make money giving away stuff for free, so I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
And so that's kind of where the chair came about. That's why I have it. People laugh at it or whatever else. They just don't understand the necessity of how hard it is for me to sit for long periods of time and not be in pain or whatever else.
Hey, yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and it's pretty enlightening. Because you're right, if you have any kind of back problems, sitting at a poker table for any amount of time is going to just be a beatdown. So I appreciate you sharing that. I know maybe most people don't know that, but that's really helpful insight into the story behind the chair. So September 24th, 2550 with my man DQ here. You can get all the info at TexasCardHouse.com. If you email Dallas at TexasCardHouse.com, there's probably still a chance to get on the list, although I'm assuming the list is already full. But at a minimum, you can check out the live stream. We'll all be on it, really enjoying it. DQ, thanks for your time. Great to meet you, and good luck on September 24th.
Hey, listen, I really appreciate it. And if you're going to tune into the live stream, whether it's $2, $5, $7, super chat these guys. Let them know you appreciate them, right? You don't have to super chat the way that I do, but give them a couple of bucks here or there just to let them know that you appreciate them. I know that they will appreciate it as well, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the 24th. And I'm sure that you guys can take a big national pool on how much money I'm going to lose that day, and hopefully I can keep it to under 50,000. The mind game start immediately. I'm going to let them know, hey, I'm glad you called, because I haven't even seen my cards yet, so it's going to be exciting to see what happens. They're automatically like, what the hell's going on? This guy not only called, but he raised, and he hasn't even seen his cards. I like to talk to people at the table. I like everybody to have a good time. But I'm also going to get in your head while I'm playing with you. When you know that I haven't looked at my cards, you can't get a live read on me because I don't even know what I have.
probably be good to talk about the origin story of the pod, talk about origin story of how we got involved with the card house, that kind of thing. I'm not a professional poker player, despite all my expert analysis that I give in the booth. But I lived in Austin a few years ago, and that's where Texas Card House originated. They had this kind of small, kind of dumpy South location where they kind of tested out the membership model. I saw that they were hiring for dealers, and I had always dealt home games just with my homies back in the day and enjoyed doing that. And they just like threw me into the fire one night. Like I went from not having ever dealt a live poker hand at a business to dealing on a Friday night to a 2-5 game, and learned a ton. TCH Dallas opened last year, and I saw that they'd put out a call for commentators, and I was like, well, I like talking about poker, and from what I hear on other live streams, it doesn't sound like it's that hard, or the competition isn't that stiff. And so I made a short audition video basically commentating old streams, and I actually got a live audition to go down to Austin and commentate with AA Run, and I guess I did okay. And so was part of the OG Dallas stream, kind of the beginning of the insane game at the beginning of 2021. And now we're here. It's grown from, I don't know, I started maybe when there was 10,000 subs, and now we've got 34,000, and concurrently like having 1,000 plus viewers each time we stream, which is pretty cool. And so like I was commentating by myself at the beginning, and then you came in, and I guess you could talk about how you got involved as well. But then we had kind of alternating days, and so I heard your voice, but I'd never met you in person. And I think they just put us on a random stream together, and we did. People seemed to enjoy it, and it was a good balance of me being an idiot, you being really sharp at poker, and now we're here, and we've got we've got a fan base and such now, which is cool, and getting recognized out in the poker world. And so so that's me. That's how we're here. And what about you, man?
Diving back real far, I'd actually lived in Georgetown for a little bit at the beginning of, right before all the nonsense with COVID. I'd actually taken a sales job down there that did not pan out. I got let go right before COVID hit. And then literally like I'm talking like 2 weeks before it exploded. And so I was working as a server, and then all the restaurants got closed down. And
great.
I was just like,
my life's going great.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, A+, here we go. We're along for the ride. So I was stone broke. TCH opened up, and the 1st of December, I believe, was my first shift here. I decided to take a shot at an audition here. I failed my first audition, actually, as a dealer.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
I failed. Leon, I remember Leon, one
he
of
runs
our
a tight
floors
ship.
here. Leon's exact words were, you seem like you're getting there, but you seem a little greener than most of the other dealers, and that was very much true. And then I came in there the second time and smashed it. And then my first shift was like 2 days later, when I was like, I literally called up here and was like, can I just come work? Like, I'm dead broke right now, and I just want to come work. And so I was working like 5 or 6 days a week all through December and January, and playing 1-2 here and there, but I wasn't doing a ton of playing because I saw this as a really excellent opportunity to grind it out and build a bankroll, like a real bankroll, for the first time in my life ever. Have an actual bankroll, responsible bankroll to play poker, to do what I wanted to do. And then I started playing higher stakes towards the early part of February, and then that was when I heard about the commentary job open up, and I was like, all right, that sounds awesome. Like, it seemed such a slam dunk for someone like me who just could not shut up about this game and loves talking about the game and loves watching it. I already consumed so much poker content every week as it was that it seemed pertinent to move to a platform that I might actually get paid to do it. So to me, I was like really excited for it, really vying for it. Sent in my audition tape. I was probably maybe a week or two after you got yours in. I sent in mine, and I remember it was kind of slow going. They were like, yeah, you sound good. We'll get you in there at some point. I never had to do an audition down in Austin or anything like that. And I remember one day Vic said he was going to get me in there with you, and he actually put Tommy in there with you instead that day. And I remember I was at the table and I was pissed because I was just like, you said I was going to get in the booth today, man. Come on, let's go.
I'll never forget that because I was, hyping myself up to do this stream by myself. This is like the inaugural TCH Dallas stream. And then as I'm starting, Vic walks Tommy in and says, "Hey, this guy's going to commentate with you." And I'm like, who is this person? Like, I'm literally meeting this guy in real time. You can even go back to the first TCH stream and you can hear Tommy's voice. And so that was quite the experience for everybody, I guess, because
absolutely.
It was enough to be doing, like, there was like, I don't know, 500 people watching at the beginning. And so I'm like nervous trying to do this thing that I have zero experience doing. And then they bring in another guy where I'm having to like try to build a chemistry with a guy in real time. It's just, that was
a lot.
That never happened again after that. Like
my first stream was, I think, like maybe the fourth or fifth one that we had here, something like that. I remember it being, I was nervous for the first like 5 minutes whenever I first got started, and then once I like got rolling, I just didn't shut up. And because this game is so much fun for me to talk about. Right. Given that I was trying to make it such a large part of my life. And then I guess the rest is history from then on. You and I finally got in the booth together. I didn't know who the hell you were. This
Not many
Kirby
people in the
guy.
room still know who I am.
That's actually very true. Anytime
People still
I'm
think
sitting,
I'm kind of a made up.
You're
person.
a ghost. You're a myth. You are just a voice and only a voice coming to us from another dimension. Because anytime I'm at a poker table, I think I've been asked that question more often than any other. Like, who the hell is this Ben Kirby guy? Every time you walk in, I'm like, that's him over there.
People in the poker industry generally play a ton at like when they're not working, and I'm kind of in a unique position where I don't get to play. I just don't get to like be at the tables that much, and so when you play that long with people, you build relationships with everybody, and so it makes sense that everybody would recognize you because you're playing as well. And then your voice and that kind of thing. And so it's been funny to, like, I'll walk by the table where Greg's playing, and they literally yell at me, like, "Hey, turn around." I'm like, "What?" And this table full of people are all staring at me, and they're like, that's
the guy.
Yeah, he's a lot uglier than he sounded. It's But anyways, so you finally got the shot on the stream. We finally aligned our schedules and that kind of stuff. And then the stream kind of took a life of its own, probably due to a few characters showing up in the kind of spring of this year. I mean, we can say it like Bildo was this just like once in a lifetime character that came through the stream.
The biggest whale ever, and like
he was like the textbook definition of like every pro poker player has images of grandeur of finding a guy like this on your table. Just playing perfectly against him, and there was a few in real time that got their shot at this guy that was literally not scared to throw in $80,000.
No, and of course now
cash.
we see why. But
right,
that really I think was like a catalyst for where the stream is now. It's like I hate to say that like we were reliant on him because I don't want to be, but it was. It definitely helped at the beginning to have this nut job sit down at our table and drop 6 figures onto it. And then we had people we just happened to have people like JD who can at least, drop 30 grand on there and feel okay about it. People like Trick Time that came later. And then someone like Steven who's fine sitting down with $100,000 as well. So we got super lucky in the sense that a lot of things aligned all at one time. Right at the beginning of the stream when it's most important to generate crazy content like that. And
that drove kind of a word of mouth. You could tell that like word of mouth was spreading that, hey, there's this guy that will literally rip it for $60,000 with 8-7 offsuit.
Yep.
And who doesn't want to watch
flop
that?
Trip sevens.
yeah,
man.
And we've had a few hands that have come up that have stuck out as favorites, and I imagine people that are fans of the stream probably know which hands we'll probably bring up. But like I had picked out a few that were especially insane, and 2 of them involved Bildo and Steven. And Steven is kind of this just as much of a mystery type guy, but he shows up and will buy in equal to Bildo. I mean, these guys were like, I don't know if this is exaggerating, but I think I seem to remember that we were literally running out of chips, like physically.
Yeah,
like
no,
these
we
guys
were.
These guys were trying to buy in for more, and the cage was running out of chips because they wanted to buy in for so much. I mean, we had those huge $1,000 plaques and the $500 pink chips, and we were literally running out of them. But if you go back into the archive in TCH Live, there's a video titled "Bluffing into the Nuts," $85,000 winner, and it's Bildo versus Steven and a few others. But the long and short of it is that Steven ends up 4-betting with aces pre. Bildo cold calls twice with Jack 7 off. And bricks flop. It checks through. Steven flops top set with aces. It checks through the turn.
Oh,
is
I
an 8.
remember that one now.
Bildo gives Bildo an open-ended straight draw with the Jack 7. Bildo open rips it for, I think, like 30
grand or something.
30 grand.
It was like more than the size of the pot at the time, I want to say. And then Steven's just like, all right, yep, that's fun. Click button, click call, insta.
Oh, that's right. Oh, no, okay. He on the turn, the 8 comes, Bildo picks up an open and straight draw, goes check. Steven bets 5,000 into like 19. Bildo quickly calls. The river pairs the board into 8. Bildo open ships for an additional 34,000, and Steven's like, I call, bro. I've got top boat. And that was an $85,000 pot, and you and Matt were commentating at the time and blowing everybody's eardrums out because it was just the most heinous sequence of events ever.
Oh my God!
No way! No way! Bildo ships it straight into the nuts. That is the biggest pot we've ever seen on Texas Card House Live in Dallas. 80
Yes.
And then not too much longer, Bildo and Steven got involved in another hand, which ended up netting like the biggest pot on TCH Live history, where Steven had ace king and Bildo had 8-7 off, and
I mean, he cannot fold anything on this
Yeah,
flop.
if he hits a pair, he has to go
unless
in,
it's
I
all
think.
face cards, which odds are it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And then if it's-
Oh, Bildo! What? Oh, no. Oh, no. And I think Steven's just going to... Oh, no, Bildo, yeah.
Steven must have checked.
He checked and gets shipped on. Oh, man. It sucks so much because Ace-King is usually so good here so often.
It was ridiculous. It was like a 10K call or something.
yeah, like a
absurd.
10K call. He was in position, but that was it. And
Oh,
the flop comes 7-7-6 or something.
Yeah.
Checks
he
around
just
to
flops
Bildo. He
trips.
rips it, and Steven takes a minute, but then ends up calling.
Steven does have the ace of clubs and makes the call.
Oh, my God. Oh! That is the biggest pot we've had on TCH Live
So
by
really,
a lot.
so really, Steven needs running clubs or double ace,
Or
double king.
double ace, double king. Oh, my God. This is insane. 150K pot going in
No, I
here.
said coming in here, Bildo plays only to stack people.
Oh my God! You're
And
not
this-
wrong.
and
Look at
this-
that! Wow, Steven's just like, oh, I bet he's puking.
I'm sorry to laugh.
And
Yeah,
you could
which-
see the life come out of this dude's eyes. And Steven's like a pro, or at least he's been around the block a few times and probably doesn't
I don't
get,
think he's actually a professional player. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't need to be. I think he's been
right. He's
involved
got the
in
cheddar
other
cheese
things.
though, and so like
Yeah.
it seems like the type of guy that wouldn't be phased by much. But this guy gets it in. I mean, it's a $148,000 pot.
Yeah,
He
it's a lot of
calls with
money.
ace king off, where he's supposed to call there most
Yeah,
often. I think
no, it's-
even you said it.
Yeah.
And he immediately reaches into his backpack, pulls out 50,000 in cash, and could tell like he was not playing any games anymore.
No. No,
and so
not
those
anymore.
two hands, I think, really set the tone for the stream and caused it to grow. What was it like for you seeing those hands in real time? Like I had some scheduling conflicts, so I couldn't do those games.
It was.
But what was that like for you?
Yeah, that's when we had Matt Mooring in here. Matt Money was doing that with me, and he ended up leaving the stream. But it was insane to see that happen in real time, just because like I had seen high stakes games on like other platforms like Live at the Bike, but I had never been so close to it. You know what I mean? Like there was never a time in my life I could walk out the door and see these guys playing for more money than I've ever touched in my entire lifetime. And they were doing it for, with like shitty hands and things like that.
And
which
had
was the
rebuys
crazy
in their
part.
backpack.
And yeah, had rebuys and like was just, and Bildo was just getting so absurdly lucky. It was hard for me to fathom, but because at the time I was still like just getting started at 2.5. I had been a 1.2, 1.3 grinder for a year and a half at that point, and then so seeing some dude donk around with 75 grand and just scoop a massive pot, flopping like getting so absurdly lucky in that spot. It was mind blowing, and I remember even thinking, I was just like, this dude is going to, light the fire under this stream for at least a while. And like, obviously, he's not around anymore for obvious reasons, but it was a pretty unique experience, and I was glad to say that I was a part of it, just because like people are still asking us about Bildo. Like, we still get comments every single week. Some viewer out there, and I don't blame people for asking, by the way. I'm not like, getting onto the viewers or anything, because obviously they want to see more of Bildo, but it's just like we still get asked about it because new viewers come to our channel, look at the backlog, and they see some of those hands from the past that are absurd, and they ask us like, where the hell is this guy? Like, why can't we see more of him? There are answers online you can find for where he's at if you want to, but it's just it was just absolutely bananas, man. Like, I remember when that moment happened, and there were rumors for a while that Bildo wanted to drop $1 million on our table, and I remember just like hearing that. I knew that once that happened, that was going to change. I mean, he already changed the course of history for our stream already. That was definitively going to change the course of poker history in general, because I don't think there's ever been a YouTube live stream that somebody has put $1 million on in their own stack.
And that's what everybody wants when people watch the live stream to be entertained most often. Like, sometimes people are trying to learn, but those kind of players are the most entertaining, and we haven't had anything come close to Bildo. We had a guy a few weeks ago named Milkman that came and was slinging multiple.
He was
stacks.
Bildo levels. He didn't quite have the same like amount of chips as Bildo, but he was like, he was passing them around and getting in there and calling big river bets and making big bluffs and stuff. So, I mean, it's fun. I'm happy to see people do that, because like, one, it's clear that they're like in a really good financial position, that they don't care about the money, or like maybe I have no right to speculate otherwise, but it's like I'm sure there are some people that gamble irresponsibly like that. Yeah. But I didn't pick Milkman for that. I'm sure he has done well to the point that he's like okay donking around with 40 grand, and I'm happy to have those people on our live stream table. Like, we know that it's fun. Like, I get it that I'm like the analytical side, quote unquote, of this poker stream, but that stuff is still fun for me to watch. Like, I'm not above looking at biggest bad beats, things like that on YouTube, and watching people like Garrett Adelstein suck out on someone just for
over and over,
like on a 2-minute clip, or looking up biggest pots, or like how to play quads or whatever. Like, I've watched those videos. I've done that. I get it. They're fun. And and at the end of the day, that's exactly what this stream is supposed to be and was designed to be. It's like it's an entertainment factor first and foremost.
Yeah, before you could get a table pretty easily, in the afternoon or something. But now the room is packed. Like, the word, obviously the stream is a good marketing tool for Texas Card House, for Texas Poker, but that's good for everybody. Like, bringing people into the room,
absolutely,
showing people that, hey, you don't have to drive 2 hours north to go play cards, that kind of thing. And so that was really awesome. And so the stream, since the onset, has been super entertaining for that reason, because of the crazy players. But also on the opposite end, we've been able to see some like world-class players come through and make some moves that have been entertaining in a different way. And I think, the most in-your-face example of that was a couple weeks ago. This German guy who goes by Moneymaker. And I'm pretty sure that's not his real name, but his first name is Chris.
Yeah.
He's clearly a pro. This man does not make any mistakes.
Sure doesn't.
And he made one of the best poker folds in real time that either of us have ever seen.
Yeah,
for
man,
like maybe 20. It was like a $15,000 or $16,000 pot.
Yeah, I think Addy shoved on the end for like $9K into a pot that was already 14 or something like that. I actually have it right here.
But the long and
that
short
was-
of it was that it was pocket tens versus king queen. Moneymaker flops tens full of kings, and Addy flops trips, turns a boat, kings full of queens, and Moneymaker finds a way to check call the turn and then check fold a river with like second boat, or I guess
Yes,
third
seriously.
boat maybe.
In my opinion, the real highlight of that hand was the check on the turn. Like,
Addy has exactly ace king or aces.
Yep.
If he has pocket queens, he just dude, what a check! Can we talk about that check for a minute? That check is ridiculous.
the fold obviously was amazing, but the fact that he decided to attempt to pot control with a hand as strong as tens full of queens or tens full of kings was already absurd. But it just made so much sense if you are really good at range construction against your opponent, given the action pre-flop, that one way or another, your opponent probably has a better boat here, like in some sense. And he check called the turn because like you can't ever just fold to one bet with the boat. But once it comes for the blank river and Addy ships it, the dude just has no bluffs there. And ever. And that's no fault of Addy by any means. He played it exactly how he should have. But from Moneymaker's perspective, it was just like, what do I realistically beat here? And the only hand that made any sense was ace-king. But even then, given the connectedness of the board, you shouldn't be shoving with ace-king there anyways, at least not all of the time.
Exactly ace king.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and even then, I don't even think ace king is like loving getting it in here. This is insane, dude. I'm doing
nice freaking fold, bro.
And so it was just a tremendous level. It was a display of a tremendous level of skill, and he really came through and saved himself a ton of money where
Yes.
probably 99% of poker players would go broke. Because they see their hand, they see the board, they see, I have a boat. It's not the best boat, but on the flop, it was the second nuts.
In his mind, it's like it's pretty hard to make a boat. Like
It's pretty hard to make a full house, man.
and it's pretty hard to fold it on the end.
It's
when
even
there's only
harder.
a few hands that beat you.
Yeah. And so that to me was like easily by far the best fold we ever had on the stream was Mr. Moneymaker. So shout out to Chris for that. I remember I ran out there. People still don't believe that I did this, but I said I was gonna go hug the man if he made the fold, and I ran out of the booth. It sucked because he was off camera. Whenever he was literally standing to the side of the table watching the stream because he was looking back to see what Addy had that hand, and I come up behind him and just bear hug him, and it was just like, dude, that was such a monster fold, and it was crazy to see him to lay that down. So that to me I think was the best fold we've ever seen. My favorite overall hand though was JD versus Steven, and JD had ace queen of clubs out of position. Steven 5-bet king queen offsuits. Steven flops a straight. JD flops like the nut flush draw with a straight redraw, straight flush draw to go along with it. And somehow, even though JD I think only had ace high, he actually had the lion's share of the equity in the pot, which it was like so interesting to see how where you can still have the best hand currently, but you still are unlikely to win the hand. And
kind of like a
JD
PLO situation.
Yeah, a little bit. And but it was with two cards. It was like such a unique situation. Not even, consider the interesting pre-flop dynamic beforehand, because it's so hard to see 4 and 5-bet ranges played well, because most of the time once you've gotten to the bets that big, you're all in anyway. And so it's a function of how deep the stacks were. And they ran it 3 times, and I remember JD had like 60% equity, Steven had 40, and JD won 2 of them. He won 2 of the boards out of the 3, and the equities lined up perfectly, and it was just such a unique example of how things can change so quickly after the flop in a game of poker, and how, like, even though you have the nuts right now, it's not like you're still vulnerable. Especially in a situation like that. I just thought it was like super unique. Not to mention that it was like a $65,000 pot.
Yeah.
So
And those two guys are gamers for sure. Like you get to see these guys play each other week after week and really kind of level each other to points that you just never get to see at the low stakes when you're playing for 150 big blinds. These guys playing for 1,000 big blinds and playing for hours and hours and hours. You kind of get into some interesting spots that you often don't get a look into if you're playing, the peasant stakes like I do.
Yeah.